They have not responded. Jalen Brown has come alive.
But the only thing you can't steal was came out to play. Stay out my way.
Jalen Brown! The Celtics steamroll the Heat and now have a 3-2 lead in these Eastern Conference Finals.
Miami 6-2 on the road in these playoffs. They won this one with defense. They held Miami to 32% shooting and 7 of 45 from three. They're one win from the finals.
You know, to be that close and know we didn't play our best in the first half, we talked about flipping the script and playing like a really good second half, a really clean second half. And so we did that. Guys, you know, obviously JT, JB got it going. Both those guys almost triple-double and 25 points for JB. But as I always say, we rely on the defensive end. You know, our offense will pick up eventually, and when we get those stops and get out and run, you know, we're kind of a lethal team on both ends.
You know, for us was just to come out and continue to play the way that we've established. And in the first half, it was tough because, you know, weren't hitting shots, returning the ball over. But the key for us was continuing to do what we do.
There's guys that are far from 100% on both sides, and that's why this is you know, just intense competition. It's playoff basketball.
For more on Game 5, let's welcome in Jalen Rose once again to SportsCenter. Jalen, when you look at these offensive numbers for the Heat, I mean, they're really, really ugly. How was Boston able to dominate on defense?
First and foremost, the starting backcourt of the Miami Heat, Kyle Lowry and Strus, were 0 for 15. You just can't win if your backcourt can't make shots. Now, if your role players aren't going to make shots, let's look to the stars. Bam started to attack, but they were already down 20 in the game. I applaud Jimmy Butler for coming back to play, and he showed a level of toughness. But 18 shot attempts, only 13 points, that's just not going to get it done. Duncan Robinson, who's also a shooter off the bench, wasn't making shots. In transition, Victor Oladipo made a couple of bad decisions. It was just a terrible offensive game from the Heat. And to think about it, at the beginning of the game in the first half, it was really close. Why? Because Jalen Brown started off turning the ball over. Jason Tatum wasn't able to get his offensive going. And the guy that saved the Boston Celtics in the first half, the last two games, was White. He was terrific coming in, giving them double-digit points. He kept them in the game along with Al Horford. Then in the second half, that's when Brown and Tatum got going.
All right, so if you're Miami, now you face a really difficult task. If you struggled like this at home, now you have to go to Boston in a closeout game. If you're Eric Spoelstra and you're trying to cook up some sort of game plan that can work, where does it start?
I'm pretty sure you remember the late, great Luther Vandross.
Yep.
And I'll say, it's over, babe. It's Luther, babe. It's Luther, babe. It's over. And the thing about it is the Miami Heat were a terrific #1 seed, and deservedly so. But they're just devastated by injury. Kyle Lowry missed a couple of games in this series. Jimmy Butler missed a half in this series. Tyler Hero did not play today. PJ Tucker's been dealing with injury the entire series. But you can't take anything away from the Boston Celtics. But going back to their home floor, they're going to take the momentum of this second half. In the second half of today's game, the Miami Heat scored 38 total points. Jalen Brown and Jason Tatum scored 37 on their own. And Marcus Smart didn't even play well offensively. When they get back to Boston, it's Luther, babe.
All right, we'll see if a house is indeed a home for the Celtics on Friday night, or if Miami can make one last stand and get home for Game 7. Appreciate it, Jalen.
I love you so much. Appreciate you.
All right, Game 6 of the Eastern Conference Finals between the Heat and the Celtics. Friday night, 8:30 Eastern on ESPN and the app. Miami looking for a superstar to stay with our Luther theme. Countdown crew gets things started at 7:30 Eastern.
And out west, the Warriors looking to clinch a finals berth at home for the third time under Steve Kerr. They did it back in 2015 against the Rockets, behind 26 points and 5 steals from Steph Curry in Game 5. Houston shot 5 for 24 from 3 that game, and Harden made just 2 field goals. The Warriors clinched a finals berth at home again the next year after going down 3-1 to KD and the Thunder. Golden State then took Game 7 at home with a combined 13 three-pointers from the Splash Bros. The Warriors had won 5 straight with an opportunity to clinch the finals before Tuesday's loss in Dallas. But Thursday's Game 5 will be a chance at the Chase Center, where they've yet to lose a game this postseason. Now, there's confidence, and then there's this. Before Game 4, someone bet $50,000 on the Mavs to win this series. That bet would win $1.5 million, Stan.
Oh, boy.
Oh, boy. Caesars has since shortened Dallas's odds to 15-1, but no team in NBA history has come back to win a series after being down 3-0. Meanwhile, a $100 wager on the Warriors at minus 4,000 would win just $2.50.
Advanced look.
Heat's an excuse for the loss.
Look, we're not going to make any kind of deflection or any kind of excuse. You know, Boston beat us tonight, and let's be clear about that. There's guys that are far from 100% on both sides, and that's why this is, just intense competition. It's playoff basketball. Even as poorly as we played offensively, we still were able to compete, defensively and hold them under 100. For the most part this season, when we've been able to keep teams under 100, we've been extremely successful. Sometimes that just happens, but we just have to stay the course, even as disappointing and as frustrating as this game, can be. We get on to Boston and come together and just figure that one out and come back here on the 29th.
The always popular DMX Spo Windhorse sandwich here on SportsCenter. Brian Windhorse joins us now. And Brian, man, I can't help but smile like you. Look, that Bucks Celtics series was a lot of art, and then that Game 7 was kind of fell apart. But this series, Spo doesn't have to make excuses. It's obvious. They're so banged up, and they look exhausted. You're there. What do you see?
Yeah, this series would be a great series, but 3 of Miami's best offensive players are messed up. Tyler Hero would have made a major difference. An average Tyler Hero game tonight would have made a major difference because they just can't score in the half court. And look, at halftime, the Celtics went back to their locker room and they said, guys, Jimmy Butler isn't even trying to score. Let's change up our defense on him and start acting like he's a screener. Ime Udoka just said it. We played him like he was a big man who was not going to shoot. So Kyle Lowry did make a basket. He's played the last 3 games, but he is 5 of 23 in the series.
Yeah, they don't have many answers, and yet this postseason, I don't have many answers for what we're likely to see on Friday because you just never know. If Hero's able to give it a go, and a lot of guys from Miami are trying, and it's just not adding up. You've watched a lot of basketball. Do you think this heads back for a Game 7?
Probably not. Bottom line, the Celtics are the better team. I think if the Heat were full power, they may be able to squeeze it out. The Celtics are the better team. They were the better team against Milwaukee. Now, part of that was because Chris Middleton was hurt, and the Celtics have definitely benefited from injuries in this postseason. That's just the truth of it. And the other fact is that no matter how banged up the Celtics are, they had their full roster out here tonight, Scott. They weren't great, but they had their full roster. They are just healthier and better. Quite frankly, Miami is fortunate that they reached this stage because they should have probably lost Game 3 if Boston hadn't had that crazy turnover game. The Celtics are a very formidable team. They are a championship quality team. They get one more win. They're going to be in the finals for the first time in over a decade. That's a big thing for the Boston Celtics. They haven't been here. They finally got a chance to do it.
Brian, appreciate the time. Look forward to talking Friday or beyond that, whenever the next opportunity is that we get. Be well, travel safe, okay?
Scott.
To be that close and know we didn't play our best in the first half. We talked about flipping the script and playing a really good second half, a really clean second half. And so we did that. Guys, obviously JT, JB got it going. Both those guys almost triple-double and 25 points for JB. But it was simply, like I said, taking care of the basketball, the emphasis of this whole series, and limit them to one shot. And so we're guarding extremely well. It's impressive to hold a team to 80, not playing your best offensive game. But as I always say, we rely on the defensive end. Our offense will pick up eventually, and when we get those stops and get out and run, we're kind of a lethal team on both ends.
While we try to get Al's audio situated, I'm fortunate to be able to dish the rock to Stephen A. Smith. And Stephen A., let me first establish, can you hear me, my friend?
I can hear you loud and clear, Scott.
Perfect. And let's dive into this. We've got an incredibly capable defensive team in Boston, and we have an awfully banged up and seemingly exhausted Miami team. In your estimation, what did we see more of in this game in terms of why the Heat were only able to get 80 on the board?
One of the most terrific offensive performances you've seen. That's really what this comes down to. The Boston Celtics are an elite defensive team. We get all of that. But I will remind you that Max Strus, somebody that we've been raving about for the most part in the regular season because of his sharpshooting ability, this is a guy that went 0 for 9 today. Yep. He's 0 for 16 in the last 2 games. I actually had to look up his resume because I had to remember that he came from DePaul because he looked like he belongs back in college, that he ain't ready for this level because that's how bad he was. You look at Kyle Lowry, yeah, he was 0 for 6, but we all know he's hobbled. We all know he's lucky to see him out here because he's got a bad hamstring injury. But with Tyler Hero out due to his hamstring injury, he had to try and give you all that he could, but he just didn't have it. Oladipo, an offensive weapon throughout this series. He shoots 1 for 7 from the field tonight. Jimmy Butler, clearly hobbled by his knee injury, had no lift whatsoever, went out there and tried to give you his all, but shot 4 of 18 from the field. I don't care who you are. I don't care how great or putrid your defense is. If you can't make shots, anybody can beat you. And that was the Miami Heat tonight. They resembled a bunch of construction workers looking like they throwing bricks all over the damn place. And that is why the Miami Heat are going to Boston, getting set to be eliminated from the Eastern Conference Finals this Friday night. My reservations are already made. I ain't coming back to Miami.
That's a shame. But listen, Stephen, I'm smiling because I think back to you and I several years ago. Anytime we start going with that's a wrap, you got to be careful. But given the situation that the Heat find themselves in, I mean, that's a proud team. It's a well-coached team. There's a pedigree there, yes. But at some point, I don't know that they have enough. How do you cobble together 48 minutes to get a victory on the road against a Boston team that, like you, they don't want to go back to Miami either? I just wonder how it could happen.
Well, let's understand a couple of things here and throwing ourselves on the sword. When we got called out, we both thought that Milwaukee or Toronto was done in that Eastern Conference semifinal series against Milwaukee because Giannis Antetokounmpo and the Bucks jumped up 2-0 and Kawhi Leonard and those boys at Toronto were healthy. They just lost the first 2 games. Understood. In this case, we're not talking about a Miami Heat team that can't play. We're talking about a team that's depleted with injuries. They've been eviscerated by it. Kyle Lowry's injured. Jimmy Butler's injured. You look at these guys, they just don't have much. Tyler Hero, the reigning 6th man of the year, is injured. Gabe Vincent is one of your better players, along with Bam Adebayo in this game. It's just the way it is. Understood. All right, Al can hear us, and that alarm's going to go off early for First Take, so I appreciate you, Stephen A. As always, look forward to visiting throughout the playoffs and the finals, okay? All right, no problem, my man. Indeed, that's Stephen A. Smith, and now we spin over and welcome out 3 little things on this Celtics victory. They went over 20 points each in Game 5. Neither was very good in the first half, as we mentioned, but collectively it was a second-half push as they take over and win Game 5. It's a 3-2 lead in the East Finals, that 24-2 run Elisa Salters was just talking about. Miami down 1, and then suddenly they were down 23. Seemingly in the blink of an eye. Miami, just a miserable night from the floor. They shoot 7 of 45 on threes. Miami missed a franchise playoff record, 38 threes. The best three-point shooting team during the regular season, but that has evaporated, and now they need 48 great minutes in Boston to earn a Game 7. Tim Legler in studio with us, and I said to Steve a moment ago, it wasn't a work of art.
That's an understatement.
But nevertheless, it's your job to pretty this thing up for us. And it was sloppy, as we mentioned, and it's a third quarter that we've just kind of illustrated, but you can help elevate our understanding. What went on?
It was a tough watch. I thought offensively both teams.
Playoffs have been lately, man.
And I thought there were some guys looked tired tonight. Some guys didn't look healthy tonight. And then it was just some really bad misses. And you're just waiting around to see who's going to get hot at some point. Jalen Brown hit it on the head. He said, we just got it going offensively. The young legs and the star talent took over, and it was during this key stretch. And I just thought there was some really beautiful basketball played here. And here's where it starts. Jason Tatum's going to drive in and kick. And he's going to do a little Steph Curry here. I call this the pass and chase. He perfected it, right? You pass, and then you continue on to chase the basketball, and he's going to end up in his corner. Now, Strus is guarding him, And I'm sure Strus would love to just go ahead and chase him if he can on this pass. The problem is, as soon as Al Horford catches it, this is such a great play because he immediately puts it back down and takes it to the middle, which means that now Strus is in this weird position. I'm chasing Tatum, but I also have to provide help on the penetration. So he decides to stay. Unfortunately, teammate doesn't realize it. So he's also going to end up in here, which means Tatum now gets this return pass back in the corner because Horford takes it right back to the gut, takes 3 guys there, kick out, and this is where they were starting to pull away and find their rhythm. And I love this one. You want to talk about a big boy screen in the NBA playoffs, this is what it looks like. Take a look at Grant Williams, where he starts. I want you to look at his top foot. He is down here. He's below that hash right there. And you see Jimmy Butler. He's eyeing this up. He figures, hey, listen, Jason Tatum is a long way from the basketball right here. This is going to be a very long pass. It's going to be in a rope to get it to the corner. So he's going to decide to go over the top of this screen and try to chase out here. Watch Grant Williams move on this pick. By the time he finishes up, his body is up one more hash up the lane, making contact with Jimmy Butler.
Legal there, though? Like for the Heat fan screaming, that's the legal moving screen?
Not necessarily so, Scott. That's kind of a moving screen right there, but it's playoff screen.
Okay, gotcha.
That's why I said that's a big boy wide screen in the playoffs. You're not going to get that call. Jimmy Butler thought he could cheat it, and instead that's a rope pass to the corner. So again, the talent taking over for the Celtics. Jason Tatum's playmaking was big throughout the game, but it was this key stretch when their 2 best players found a rhythm. Really the only 2 guys all night that did. And there were no X factor components for the Heat. Like, where are you going to get it if